Hey guys, and welcome to Canada. This Webeo is on a high-speed rail line connecting the cities of Quebec and Montreal. Now, before I go into all my good French accent attempts and whatnot, I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this. I've done many high-speed rail videos across the USA, and it seems that those are the most popular Webeos. My most popular Webeo of all, the New York to Boston high-speed rail, has more than 7,500 views as of when this video was recorded, and my most recent high-speed rail video, the Jacksonville to Miami high-speed rail one, has more than 600 in basically a month. So I think my viewers really crave high-speed rail, so I was thinking about making a new mega high-speed rail route connecting Quebec eventually with Toronto and possibly Windsor and Detroit to go into the USA. This stretch along here is the most populated area of Canada. I believe 17 or 18 million people live along this segment right here. Think of it as the northeast corridor, northeast megalopolis of Canada, because it kind of is. It's actually southeast Canada, but it's close enough to the northeast to both resemble it and to have like similar transportation systems. So with that out of the way, let's start with the first segment, which is from Quebec to Montreal. Now before we get into the actual line, I'll give you some description. This line is fully grade separated up to speed of 350 kilometers per hour. And if you notice, there are a lot of different colors. Now what do those different colors mean? Now I've been getting feedback on my web views, and I'm not going to implement something new. Previously, like very long ago, high-speed rail was just this blue color, the entire thing. Now what I did is that blue is any segment that all is needed is electrification. So basically the tracks are already there, just upgrading. Yellow is a place where there's only one track on the alignment, and that happens quite a bit of places, so we would need to add a second track to go there. Green is new alignments, and this includes curve straightening. All these new alignments would be 2 tracks with electrification. And you may not be able to see it from here, but magenta is a viaduct, a new viaduct rather. If it's an existing viaduct, it would stay as a blue because nothing new needs to be constructed besides catenaries. And finally, white is tunnels, new tunnels. So let's start in Quebec. Quebec is the 6th largest city in Canada. It's the 2nd largest city in the province of Quebec. It has a population of around 900,000, and it's generally served as the eastern end of the urban corridor of southeastern Canada. Now the line will start at Gare du Palais. Now Gare du Palais is in the center of the city, so a lot of people nearby, lots of businesses. And it's important to note that Canada has very poor railway service. They do have the Via Rail, but that takes around 4 hours to get from Quebec to Montreal. This would reduce it to less than an hour, I believe 55 minutes with my calculations. So I think this line will give big economic boosts towards not only the area around the station, but to the entire regions of Quebec and the other cities along the line. So the trains will exit from Quebec from the existing station. Now this line will have to be electrified, but all the tracks exist. It'll go at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, probably decrease to 80 kilometers per hour along this turn here. And then after this, it speeds up to 250 kilometers per hour. Now this is a 2-track segment, so all that needs to be done is electrification. So it'll just speed through the suburbs here like this. And along the curves near the intersection of Auto Route 740 and 440, there will have to be some decrease towards 200 kilometers per hour. And I think the trains can still maintain this high of a speed if there is tilting trains, like as you saw in my very first Webeo and all my other high-speed rail Webeos. Tilting trains are used extensively, so this makes the average speed of the line higher. So after the intersection is where we get to our first underground segment, and you may be like, holy, we're already going underground? Now let's get into why. Now the existing Via Rail goes to the north of the St. Lawrence River, but the problem is there are too many turns, like too many turns, and it's much more hilly up there, not to mention to be conflicting with much more trains. Therefore, I thought it was worth it to build the alignment south. There was already mostly an existing alignment, just some curve straightening and widening, and it would actually turn out to be cheaper than the northern alignment between the two cities. So that's why I'm going south. So it may be really expensive in the Quebec area, but it'll pay off by the time you reach Montreal. So it'll continue underground. This is a 3.5 kilometer long tunnel. And then it'll come right next to the Autoroute 73 bridge. And this is when it goes back on the existing railway bridge, which shares with Route 175 as well. Now this is 2 tracks, so all that needs to be done is electrification again. So this crosses the St. Lawrence River into the southwestern suburbs of Quebec, and it'll have to tunnel underneath this area here, Charny, and then this is where it'll emerge onto what is now only a single track alignment, so I'll have to make this dual tracks, so that's why it's yellow. And the first station is Saint-Rémy-des-Terres station. Saint-Rémy-des-Terres, I'm trying to use my French accents the best. I did take French in high school, so yeah. Anyways, the point of this station is to serve not only this area but also these suburbs right here, like the western suburbs north of St. Lawrence River. It would be pointless for them to have to drive all the way to Gare du Palais when they could just cross the river and come to Saint-Rémy-des-Terres. So that's why I'm building a station here. It's more locally serving, and only regional high-speed trains will stop here. Express ultra high-speed trains will only stop at the big cities. This is obviously not one of them. So the line will continue. Now it will parallel Autoroute 20 for most of the way southwest to Montreal. And this is all existing alignment. It just has to be widened to 2 tracks and electrified. So that's why I have this yellow. Now this green here is a new alignment, but in reality this is just curve straightening. Now I made curve straightening in green because it is technically a new alignment and it shows more precisely where I am going to curve straighten, whether it's just slightly like this or whether it's like a full 5-mile long segment to cut through corners. So after that I'll continue along the autoroute. Now the line's pretty straight and the speed will be 350 kilometers per hour. Now here it'll have to pass Laurier station, but the existing line would have to slow quite a bit. Now I could have made it slow down to 200 kilometers per hour, but the nature of this line is very fast, so I thought it was worth it to bypass it via a 4 to 5 kilometer long link towards the southeast of the town, and it'll eventually rejoin the existing line. The line's still 1 track. Up here may be some curve straightening, but I think tilting trains can do the job. Now at Valla Lane, the line will have to deviate again, so curve straightening. Now this is more significant segment, I believe 1.5 kilometers long, but this will help to maintain the speed of 350 kilometers per hour and possibly even allow future speed upgrades to 400 kilometers per hour. So after that we get back to the good old blue. So this is existing unelectrified dual track, so all we need to do is electrify the line and possibly repair the tracks, but that's not that hard, and that'll be good to go. So that continues for a little bit, but then this is a long new segment. The existing line waves through like this, and it was too hard to try to make the new high-speed line catch on the old rail, as you will. Like I tried to catch on the old things and make a square into a circle. Think about it. Trying to make a square into like a rounded square or circle, you try to catch as many sides as you want, but at the same time you want to make it more smooth. This is basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to catch as many of the existing train segments as possible, yet at the same time trying to make the line go as smooth and as fast, and it's at a constant 350 kilometers per hour. So it'll continue. Now this is brand new alignment. There'll be small viaducts, but I think just a raised elevated by ground, so I forgot what the word is, but elevated by ground, so not a viaduct or anything. Only viaducts along the main roads, because obviously you don't want grade crossings on such a high-speed route. So just north of Webeo, the line will come back to the existing 2-track line, and the 2-track line will continue on. However, at this place, and I made sure it was at this place, the line goes to 1 track, so we'll have to widen to 2 tracks. This is still at the full speed of 350 kilometers per hour. Some slight curve straightening in St. Leonard, and then back to single track alignment here, so we just need to build on that. Now here is another relatively significant new alignment that needs to be built. Also, if you have not already noticed, the line also goes quite a bit north of the existing auto route, because this is where the existing line is. So I was thinking, why not just follow the existing line? If you have not realized by now, I don't really like high-speed rail in the middle of auto routes or motorways or any other type of highway. I know the BRT was a different case, but in general, it will not really align with the landscape, if you know what I mean. It'll just look not that good, to say the least. It would ruin the effect of the highway. Also, the trains would be obstructed with a view of the highway, and I think making it go through more rural areas and also towards the center of the towns where the existing train lines go is much more valuable, both towards the geography and ecology and environment and the local residents of these towns. So this is a new segment. There's a small viaduct over this river, but nothing much. Then it joins the existing 1-track segment again for a little bit, around 2 kilometers. Then it has to go through curve straightening again, possibly a viaduct over the auto route, and then it'll curve back, and just east of Saint Créel it'll go back to the existing 1-track segment. Now obviously all the 1-track segments are going to be upgraded to 2 tracks. Some slight curve straightening in St. Charles to Drummondville, and then Drummondville is a new viaduct. So this is going to be a brand new viaduct. The existing segment is not. So this will be built over all the roads here. The station is going to be relatively massive. I say 4 tracks, 2 express, 2 local. The regional high speed will stop here. The express high speed will pass through here. And again, this is so that this line serves much more people. It'll increase the economies of more of the local areas as well as the express areas as well. This was an idea I coined in the initial high-speed rail video. It's used quite a bit in China and Japan, but I want this to be implemented in North America as well. So Drummondville has a population of around 45 to 50,000 people, so I thought it is vital to build a station here. Not to mention, it is growing rapidly. So it could be a good far commuting stop towards Montreal and Quebec. It's around, I would say, a 20-25 minute ride from Montreal and 25 to 30 minute train ride from Quebec once this line is complete. So thankfully, after the viaduct, the line's 2 tracks, so nothing has to be done except electrification. However, just to the west, the line will have to go over a new alignment. Now this is essentially curve straightening. To be honest, most of my new alignments are just curve straightening in a way, but sometimes it takes a long piece of new track to fully cover all the curves that the old track goes through. Unfortunately, when the line meets back with the existing alignment and Saint Germain, the line will have to go onto an existing 1-track segment, so this will have to be upgraded. However, when it's upgraded to 2 tracks and electrified, the full speed of 350 kilometers per hour can remain. And I think this has the fastest average time, fastest average speed, probably time too, of any high-speed rail video I've done. I know the Florida was also pretty fast, but I think this is even faster. Anyways, through Saint Edward and where the existing auto route goes, like in a trapezoid shape, a new alignment has to be built. But after that, I believe that's all the widening we have to do. There's still some new alignments that we have to build, but all the track from here on out are 2-track segments. This is because Eventually, we will get into the Montreal AMT station, or IMT station as they call it. So, not station, system rather. So as we get into the first stations in Saint Hyen, I don't know how to pronounce it, Hyenite. I'm sorry if I mispronounce that, but if you live in here, please leave a comment on how it's correctly pronounced. Now I could have built a station here, but I chose not to because Mont Saint Hilary is nearby in a slightly bigger town, so I didn't think it was worth it to build a station here. Anyways, this is the last station on the IMT system, so I was thinking that you may have to widen it, but then again, the line from here is existing 3 tracks. So what I could do is let all the high speed and local trains use the same tracks and just put like a little siding track that would go off and then back for a little, and this would allow the high speed trains to pass the regional trains and local trains. Now this could be a short-term solution. In the long term, this line could be upgraded to a full 4 tracks from the existing 3 tracks, but I think as of now 3 tracks should be sufficient, and the line will have to decrease to 300 kilometers per hour in this part just because of that, but I don't think that'll be a big of an issue. So the 3 track alignment will continue. Mont Saint Hilary is the next station. Now this is considered to be like the easternmost part of the greater Montreal metropolitan area. If you watched my epic, as I call it, Vision 2100 Webeo, which was a vacuum tunnel from New York to London, you notice that I was guessing around 40-50 miles. It was only around 20 miles outside of Montreal where the actual vacuum tube would pass through, and it passed really close to Mont Saint Hilary. So this line could be used as a connection towards any future, as in probably 80 or 90 years from now, vacuum tunnel that would be built between North America and Europe. Anyways, this is also a major suburb for Montreal. Not to mention there are a lot of businesses coming up here as well. This is a relatively fast growing place as well as the last station, so I think building a stop here for regional high speed is worth it. Unfortunately, we have to build a tunnel. I don't want to destroy very many homes. I believe there are probably no homes that need to be destroyed in this entire project. And otherwise, if I didn't do that, I would have to make the line deviate all the way like this or continue along Auto Route 20, but that would actually be more expensive. So I decided Zaunde, just build a tunnel underneath. And this tunnel's around 3 kilometers long. It'll emerge on a new alignment. Now this is just 2 tracks. The local trains will continue along the existing alignment, and then it'll return to the existing alignment 3 track section. Some curve straightening here just south of Saint Bruno, and back to the existing alignment, just electrification. Saint Hubert is the last station before Montreal, and I was thinking that a stop is necessary here because not only does it serve the eastern suburbs of Montreal, so like the advantages are obvious in that these people don't have to drive west, but it also serves the outskirts, especially the north outskirts like East Montreal on the other side of the St. Lawrence River, because these people would otherwise have to go into the city, which is very tedious, and instead they could just go along the outskirts to Saint Hubert and take the train to Quebec or whatever stop they would desire. There's also connections to the IMT station. So finally the 3-track segment continues along. Now unfortunately this bridge here is only 2 tracks, but the line speed will have to decrease from 300 kilometers per hour through the bridge to 80 kilometers per hour because it turns. I don't want to try to cut through here. We are really close to this center of the city, so it'd be pointless really to try to make a tunnel go like this. So instead I just follow the existing tracks, and this does become electrified thankfully already. And guess what? We are in Montreal Gare Centrale. Now Montreal is the second biggest city in Canada. It has a population of around 3.5 million people, and it used to be the biggest business center of Canada. Now that's Toronto around 5 or 6 years ago by GDP, I guess, not GDP, GCP of the city, gross city product, or gross metropolitan product, something like that. I believe it's still the highest. So in other words, this is a big business center. It deserves high-speed rail to connect to the other parts of Canada. Now, that's it for this Webeo, but that's not it of the high-speed route. In the next Webeo, which I'll try to publish very soon, the line will connect Montreal to Ottawa to Toronto, and this is just part of a bigger initiative to tell Canada what high-speed rail would be like, how it would be built, when it would be completed, and also what advantages would it have to all the cities and local communities that this line serves. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.